If you're filing a marriage-based green card application, you're probably thinking about the evidence that you need to prove that your marriage is real. And let me tell you something. You may be thinking that pictures from your wedding is enough to prove that you two are in a loving marriage. Well, I hate to shock you, but USCIS has other ideas about what type of evidence actually proves that your marriage is real. Do you know that over 40% of marriage-based green card applications that receive an RFE, request for evidence, or a notice of intent to deny, get that because their evidence is not seen as sufficient by USCIS? Well, hopefully with this video, I will break down what type of evidence that will make your case sufficient so that you don't have to go through that. I am U.S. Immigration Attorney Lilian Chukwurah, and I help my clients get green cards and citizenships for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. The first type of evidence that people always think about when they think about proving that their marriage is real is pictures, right? You take pictures with your spouse, you think those pictures should be enough to prove that your marriage is real. Well, let's talk about what makes the pictures good and what makes them not so good evidence, okay? When it comes to pictures, USCIS wants to make sure that the pictures depict major moments in your relationship. Okay, that's what they want to see, not just, you woke up and you took a selfie. That's not really what they're looking for. They're looking for major events in your marital relationship depicted in pictures. They want to see from your pictures if the pictures alone is able to show them that you and your spouse are in a marital relationship, that you two are putting yourself out there as a married couple. That's what they're looking for in your pictures, not just selfies, okay? Not just selfies. We woke up, selfie. We're driving in a car, selfie. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for more than that. Major events in your marital relationship. That's what they want depicted in your pictures. So, first thing first, when you are sending pictures to USCIS, the best thing for you to do is annotate the pictures. Tell USCIS who's in the picture, when the picture was taken, where the picture was taken. If there's an event that you're celebrating, mention it there, okay? Because you want to give USCIS a full context of what do these pictures actually show. If the pictures are all from your wedding and nothing else, that's going to be a problem, okay? Your wedding pictures just shows that you two were at the same place and you got married. That's all it shows. It doesn't show your life after your wedding. It doesn't show your life before your wedding. It just shows that on that day, you were there, people came, and you had a marriage. That's it, okay? So your wedding pictures does not show that you have a real marriage. Your life pictures, those are what you need to focus on. Those are the evidence that really makes a difference. And like I said earlier, you need to annotate every single picture, okay? Or group the pictures. Like if it's a picture from the same event, you can just say, these are the pictures from, my cousin's wedding that we went to, and these are the people in the pictures. And then for each picture, you will label who's in the picture. Pictures that are just selfies of you and your spouse in different, locations or in different clothes are not as helpful unless it's like you two went on a vacation. You went on a road trip. You went and visited a national monument. Something major like that, yes. A selfie with the Statue of Liberty, great. A selfie with, the national monument, great, right? Those type of things matter because it shows USCIS that not only are you two in a relationship, you are out there living your life together, going on vacations, going on trips together, visiting museums, water parks, whatever it is that you do together. When you're taking those selfies, you need to make sure that you are annotating what it is that you're doing in those pictures. That's what's going to give it weight. Having other people in the pictures are also going to give it weight. So don't just send USCIS selfies of you and your spouse. If you have pictures with family members, with friends, at friends events, at, things that you go together as a couple, you want to make sure that you are putting those in because, again, selfies just show that you and your spouse were in the same place at the same time, but selfies with other things, other people, are going to be more persuasive. Okay, you don't have to give them 1,000 selfies. You may only give them 50 pictures, and those 50 pictures show 50 different events that you went together, 50 different things and people that you were around. Those are going to be way more persuasive than 1,000 pictures of just randomness. And those 1,000 pictures, if you don't annotate them, are also not helpful. The second thing that USCIS likes to look at and people love to include are tax returns. When it comes to the tax returns, USCIS are looking at three things: your filing status, your address, and if you are providing your tax return for every single year of your marriage. Why does this matter? Well, your filing status can make a huge difference, because if you're telling USCIS that you live jointly with your spouse, but you're also filing taxes as head of household, that's questionable. Or you're filing your taxes as single when you are married, that is a problem, okay? I'm not here to give you tax advice, but your filing status can affect your marriage-based green card application, especially if you are filing single or head of household. Talk to your tax professional to see what is the best option for you that does not then jeopardize your marriage-based green card process. The next thing that USCIS likes to see is that you and your spouse are commingling your finances. Whenever I say this, people go straight to joint bank account, but that's not the only way to commingle your finances, but that is everyone's first go-to, okay? So let's start with that. If you have a joint bank account, that's great. However, it is only helpful if you actually use it. Okay, I have had a case where we went to the interview and there were transactions on the joint bank account that one of the spouses knew nothing about. They're like, what is this, large sum of money that was paid to this company? What was it for? And one of the spouses had no clue. How is it your joint account and you don't know where like $3,000 is going to? Those are the things that just make me cringe when I go to interviews, because your bank account, if you choose to have a joint bank account, both of you need to know what's going on with your joint bank account. In most situations, when you're making a large payment or a large withdrawal from a joint account, you're having a conversation with your spouse before you do that, right? So that is what USCIS is expecting. So when they ask you about something or a transaction in your interview, do not be surprised, because you gave them the documents, okay? Another thing with the joint bank accounts, like I said before, use it. Use it to pay your rent. Use it to pay for your gas. Use it for your household expenses, okay? When people tell me that they pay things from their separate accounts, but they have this joint account that's just sitting there and they want to use that as evidence of their relationship, it just shows that you went to a bank and you opened an account together. That's all your joint account shows, unless you actually use it for your day-to-day transactions. Another way you can show commingling of finances is by having a joint residence, right? If you are both on your lease, it shows that you are both responsible for where you live and for that rent. If you're not able to pay the rent, both of you are liable to the landlord, not just one of you. That's why having a joint residence is so important and shows your commingling of your finances without having a joint bank account, because you don't need a joint bank account to have a joint lease, okay? But you do have to show that you're current on your lease and that you are maintaining your lease. However, it does not have to show on your bank statement if you do not have a joint bank account. Another way to show commingling of finances is by having each other on your as beneficiaries on your life insurance. Again, if you do not want to get life insurance, do not get life insurance just for this purpose, okay? I have seen it. I have seen it where people will just go and get a life insurance policy. They let it lapse after the first year because they've already sent it in as evidence of the relationship. And then USCIS comes back and it's like, hey, you didn't send us anything to show that this policy is still current or that you've been paying it, because we don't see the payment on your joint bank statements. So it's really important that if you are going to get a life insurance policy, that you maintain it, right? That's really important. Do not get things just because you think it's going to look good. Okay, if that's not something you want to do, if a joint bank account is not something you want to do, if a life insurance policy with your spouse as the beneficiary is not something you want to do not do it just for this purpose. There's other ways to show your relationship to the officer. Okay, there's other ways to show your relationship. You don't want this to be the thing that causes an officer to question whether your relationship is real or not. And then finally, let's talk about the affidavits, okay? Every single person asks me about affidavits. How many affidavits do I need to prove my marriage? Affidavits are like the lowest of the lowest when it comes to evidence that USCIS considers important. I am very sorry to tell you this. You can have 1,000 affidavits, but if you don't have anything else, you're still going to have the same problem, okay, of insufficient evidence. So when you do get affidavits, look at it as just supplementing or supporting the other evidence that you already have. So for example, when you're thinking about who should I ask to write an affidavit for me, look at your pictures. Let your pictures guide you. What are the major events that you have had in your life since you've been married? Who are the major people that have been involved in your life since you have been married, since you started dating? Right? Those people are the ones that should be writing an affidavit for you. People that are very aware of your relationship. Maybe they attended your wedding, and if not, why didn't they attend the wedding? Maybe you've went and seen them in person and had a whole relationship with them. You and your spouse were at their baby shower. Things like that are important. Those are the people that you want writing an affidavit for you because they have clear knowledge of your relationship. Now, here are the things that an affidavit should have, right? When someone is writing an affidavit for you, they should be thinking about these things. The first one is, what is their relationship to you, right? What interactions and how often do they interact with you and your spouse? Because if someone that you met one time or that has only met your spouse one time and you don't really talk to that often about your relationship, how much do they really have to say about you and your spouse, right? So USCIS wants to know, how often do they interact with you and your spouse? Have they attended any major occasions with you and your spouse? This is important. That's why I said, look at your pictures. Remember, we started with the pictures. Pictures show major events. So were these people involved in any of those major events? Can they talk about those major events that they attended that you were at? So if examples are holiday parties, regular parties, trips, family gatherings, things like that, okay? They also want to know, is the affidavit detailed enough? Or is it just like, oh, I think these couple are a great couple. They always seem happy. I believe that their marriage is real. Is that all the affidavit says? Because that is not giving any details. Details. Let's talk about details. Details is saying, We have been best friends since then. I remember when she first met her husband. I remember when he proposed. And I remember when she asked me to be her maid of honor. I remember attending the wedding and just getting to know him even better. Since they've been married, we go out to eat at least once a week all together, on a double date with me and my spouse. And they have been such a support system for me and my husband. With our new baby, they would volunteer to babysit. And I just know that they are so in love and they have their whole life ahead of them. You see the difference? Do you see the difference? So when people do an affidavit and it's very generic language, USCIS sees through it. USCIS sees through it. So you don't want to do that, okay? You want the affidavit to be as detailed as possible so that USCIS can actually get a sense of the relationship. After you give that detailed affidavit, you want to also include some form of documentation or evidence to back it up. So going back to that example, we took screenshots when she was showing me her ring on FaceTime. So I'm going to include those screenshots, right? I took pictures the day they first came to see me after I had my baby and they were holding the baby. You include those pictures, right? You include things that would back up what the person is saying in their affidavit, because it's not just the words you want to show. Here's a quick tip. If everything else fails and you are in a situation where you just got married, you don't have a lot of evidence to gather, you don't have a lot of things to show your text, show your phone calls to each other, show your call logs. Those are the things that's going to show the officer the build up to the relationship. Still, it may not be the best primary evidence. However, it helps supplement what you do have. Right? Here's a quick note on this. I had a case where the person came to me after they received a notice of intent to revoke their I-130. Their I-130 was already approved. It was sent to the embassy. The embassy did the interview, sent it back to USCIS, and asked USCIS to deny the application after the fact. And they came to me, and guess how we were able to fix this situation? We printed over 200 pages of WhatsApp chat. Yes, over 200 pages of WhatsApp messages. You can export your WhatsApp messages. We were able to download it, print it off, and send it to USCIS. Because in those WhatsApp messages, they were talking about when they met. Right? When they first met, they started talking. They talked about the lead up to their wedding, how they planned the wedding, sending packages back and forth, figuring out who's going to do what in the wedding, how many people are going to be in the wedding. Their text message chain showed their entire relationship. And guess what happened after we sent those over 200 pages of WhatsApp messages? USCIS approved the case again and sent it back to the embassy and was basically like, no, this marriage is real. Go ahead and approve that case. You are wrong. So your messages can be helpful if it actually shows your relationship. So those are a quick rundown of the type of evidence you need to start thinking about if you're going to be filing a marriage-based green card application. Now, before I let you go, there's a caveat to this whole video, and put it in the comments. I'm gonna give you a second. What do you think my caveat is going to be? Put it in the comments. I'm gonna wait. If your marriage is not real, please do not go ahead and file any applications with USCIS, because you are setting yourself up to fail. This video will help you if your marriage is real and you want to make sure that you are presenting the best evidence to USCIS to basically help them see that your marriage is real. If you are ready to assemble your strongest packet for your marriage-based green card application, go ahead and schedule a strategy session with me. It is a free 15-minute session where we talk about your situation and see if we can work together to make your green card dreams a reality. You can do that by going to my website, lilylegal.com, click on Contact Us, and you can see my calendar and book a date and time that works best for you for us to chat.